Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday.
Non-walk on Wednesday.
Non-walk on Wednesday. I try to get a Nandalila. She's hiding from me. She's a great artist, Nandalila. You got to follow her on Instagram, but she's hiding from me. I take full responsibility. I contacted her late. She knew I was after her to be on. And she's just sort of like playing it like, oh, I'm not, I don't want to. She's humble. She's super humble. And she's one of the best artists ever. And she listens every day on Zoom. I wonder, by the way, if you want to listen to Zoom, if you're one of the many thousands of others out there, there's about give or take 100 people. There's 101 today listening on Zoom. And every day, if you get the secret codes from Mara to get on Zoom, guess what happens? Others, I greet you personally. And now that might sound like, well, what does he mean by that? Just that. I say, good morning, Lori Pagan, the chief. Good morning, Viking. And I generally give you some weird nickname. Generally, not all the time, but sometimes. So it's fun. Join us on Zoom. Email Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com, and you can join us here live. Any other good announcements? We're going to Rath Yatra. Actually, I'm going to California this week, so we're going to miss some shows because it's a wedding, Vedic wedding at the Laguna Temple. Looking forward to it. And Miss Maris holding down the fort here at Super Soul with Mallory and young Tommy Fawcett. And then the following week is our big weekend, June 9th, 10th, and 11th at the Bhakti Center. It's our Jagannath Festival. And I'm really preparing my mind and getting into all this Jagannath Leela. I'm very excited to see Lord Jagannath.
Excellent.
Thank you. You validate me. Miss Mara, do you have any interesting announcements for us?
We're back to recovery group meetings today at 1 and 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. And we also opened up our registration for Chant Camp up at Super Soul Farm over Labor Day weekend.
Yep. Chant Camp is happening and people are already signing up. You know who's coming? Mr. Henry's coming up for that one. And also a great retreat with Lori Pag and myself. If you're into yoga and bhakti, that's the retreat for you. Sometimes, you know, we have treats that are very, very bhakti. And if you're into yoga, you're like, what's all this chanting about? Chant Camp is full. We're just doing kirtan the whole time with a little bit of yoga. And me and Lori Pag are leaning more into the yoga stuff, but we'll also, of course, do kirtan, etc. And then we're going to do another Wisdom of the Sages retreat. I'm going to get you on the phone today. We're going to nail that down because that's going to be in October. It's going to be and we're going to, I got some special ideas for that.
Let's not worry about that right now.
All right, my friend. Let's get our quote. We got a good quote today by Nugget. We call them nuggets.
Yeah.
Before we start our reading. And we got some great reading in the Bhagavatam. We're in a great place. But this is a quote from one of my favorite spiritual philosophers.
Yeah, you got a connection with him, right?
I got a deep connection with Rudolph Steiner. I've been reading his stuff for years. One of these like geniuses who grew out of, you know who he grew out of? Madame
Um,
Blavatsky. Madame Blavatsky.
Really?
Yeah, Madame Blavatsky was a theosophist, which was sort of like a mystical Christian meets
Everything else.
Eastern thought, everything else. And then they claimed Krishna, what was his name? Krishnamurti was the incarnation of Christ. And then Rudolph Steiner said, okay, I've had enough of this. And he started his own thing called anthroposophy. And he was a visionary. Whatever he was a very interesting visionary. He predicted the collapse of the beehives, and he was really into he started biodynamic farming and really into organic farming and planting according to particular rituals. And what he was doing then is incredibly cutting edge right now. He was into raw, not pasteurizing food. He was really
when was then?
That was like in the 40s.
Okay.
I think it was in the 40s in Germany. And he came up with a whole new type of educational system, which is very experiential. It's not based on getting kids to work in factories. You ever have a teacher that says, okay, sit down, be quiet, do your test. The whole Waldorf education, which he started, is kids learn from just hearing. Kids learn from hearing. They don't even have them read first. They just hear. And all like the stories, even like the Grimm fairy tales and things like that, they're all lessons within them. They're all deal with archetypes. Everything is natural. All the dolls and the toys are natural. And here's an interesting one, because my kids all went to the school. The dolls had no faces. They were faceless dolls. And that's because he said the dolls were for therapy for the children. So the dolls he would say, yeah, my baby's angry today. I mean, it would be a way for a child to express their feelings vicariously through the dolls. But if you have a doll that's with a painted face that's always smiling, then it's sort of like you can't use that doll for therapy. It's always happy. So you can say, my doll is sad today. My doll is lonely today. Oh. He's a super interesting guy. And it was all outdoors. It was all outdoors, really connected
in the winter.
To nature and plant. Yeah, even in kindergarten. I remember dropping off my daughter at kindergarten, and they'd be like, okay, buckle up. We are going to be outside for the next few hours. And it was like, oh my God, these kids are just going to be outdoors all day. But it develops like a strong constitution and a love for outdoors. My kids are really connected to nature because of it. Okay, Mara's got some insight on Rudolph Steiner. Austrian occultist and social reformer, architect. Yeah, really unique architecture too. Clairvoyant, esotericist. I'm going to use all this stuff for my bio.
I thought you'd like that.
Thank you. Do you think I could be called a clairvoyant with what I do?
I don't think there's anything stopping you.
Look up what a clairvoyant. I might qualify as a clairvoyant. The more you're into bhakti, the more you could actually.
If you're a clairvoyant, I don't think you need her to look it up.
Maybe clairvoyant is the magical ability to gain information about an object, person, location, or physical event through extrasensory perception. I think I'm a partially clairvoyant. I have a little lot of insight. People have told me.
Let's read the nugget. Okay.
So here's what Rudolph Steiner has to say.
Yeah.
If I meet other people and criticize their weaknesses,
okay,
I rob myself of higher cognitive power.
Mm.
But if I try to enter deeply and lovingly into another person's good qualities, I say this all the time, I gather in that force. I'm clairvoyant, right?
No.
This is so me right here.
Okay.
I'm going to read it again. If I meet other people and criticize their weaknesses, I rob myself of higher cognitive power.
I mean, even that, even the language there, it sounds a little, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but just the way that it's phrased there, it makes it sound a little, I don't know, new agey or something like that. Are you listening to me at all?
Yeah,
right?
it's not new. It's not new agey.
Yeah, but I'm saying even just take it totally literally, right? You become robbed of higher. What does cognitive mean? The ability to understand, the higher the power to understand things on a higher level, the more that your awareness is riveted. And we have that tendency, right, to get like really stuck in loops of negative thinking, of always seeing the faults in others, always feeling the victim, always seeing the faults in others, always finding that negative thing. We can't understand anything higher, but we can't understand what we're really meant to understand here.
We are in a merry-go-round oftentimes of criticism. Sometimes we'll criticize. I hate to throw my mom under the bus here, but I'm going to do it.
To criticize
I visit every time I visit my mom. I'm hearing the same criticisms
for so many years.
That she just rehashes the same criticism of my brother-in-law or my older this or that or my uncle and where he went wrong, and it's like running loops. And this is a really powerful thing: is to get off other people. Don't mind other people's business. Mind your own business. Okay. And stop criticizing yourself. Damn it! Stop it.
If you're going to if you're going to get involved in someone else's business, then the next line of it.
Here it is. But if I try to enter deeply and lovingly into another person's good qualities, how about sniff those out, people?
Okay.
Be like one of those sniffing dogs at the airport. Sniff out people's good qualities.
Sniff the good. That's our takeaway for today.
Sniff the good.
Okay.
But if I try to enter deeply and lovingly into another person's good qualities, I gather in that force.
Gathered in.
This is where he gets his clairvoyance power. This is where me and Rudolph get our clairvoyance from, Prabhu.
Well, you know what? I think we're going to see as we read some of today's verses, we're going to see that is not just a wishy-washy, feel-good, kumbaya kind of thing. It actually has a very deep spiritual yogic reality to it, right? Yeah. And it's worth keying in on. It's a life changer.
Yeah. Yeah, Rudolph Steiner. I like him. Google him.
Yeah, okay.
He's got a special play. He was really into Goethe. Do you know that?
Yeah.
He's got like this headquarters in Germany called the Goetheum.
Okay.
Just thought I'd share that.
Thank you, Raghunath. Let's keep it moving.
It's interesting though, because in our culture, in Vedic culture, you can't just make these statements. It's all got to be balanced with Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So I think according to the Vedas, we'd call this guy a mental speculator. He's speculating.
Well, he was drawing from these texts, right?
Yeah. And he was just like a deep thinker, and a lot of these are right on base.
Okay.
Right. A lot of his thoughts were right on base. I'm always impressed with him. All right. So, are you ready to go into the deep, sweet Srimad Bhagavatam, my friend?
I am.
Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tojayam madirayat. Before we cite the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta parayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurun Midatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opened my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, Text 10.
We read some good stuff yesterday, Raghunath. Did we not?
It's only getting better today.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of good stuff here, and we're traveling through the universe, and we're making stops. Okay, that's where he's taking us, right?
You're the bus driver. You're the bus driver taking us through the universe. Pataloka, everybody out.
We haven't gotten there yet. But we in the last chapter we're following the Ganges River, we're following that path, and we stopped off. We heard about Dhruva, we heard about the Saptarishis, we heard at length from Lord Shiva. Continuing in that way, we're traveling to the different varshas, these different universal areas. and hearing from the residents there. And now we've come, Raghunath, sometimes we say, you and I say, like
What do
for
we say?
instance, you and Mara get together there every morning, and you do your sadhana together there, right? You do your puja, right?
We just
And
finished.
you sing certain verses, correct?
Oh, we got a good song today.
What were you singing today?
Nanda
Something you have-
Nandana Astakam.
What about stuff that you have memorized?
Yeah. Prayers to Govardhan Partana.
Sing me one verse.
Nijapati Bhujatandak Chachambhavam Prapadya Pratihara Maladristo Danda Devanda Garva Atula Patula Shaila Shreni Bupa Priyang Me Nija Nikitani Vasam Dehi Govardhan Tvam.
So that right there, you want translation? Do a translation.
Do translation.
Give me a paraphrase.
Paraphrase. It's Nijapati Bhujatandak. It's prayers about Indra. His, the residents of Vrindavan are taking shelter. You've made yourself an umbrella, and
lifted
for the
Govardhan.
resident and lifted Govardhan to protect them from the Deva king Indra. And everybody takes shelter. May I please take residence at?
Yeah.
May I take residence by your side? It's a prayer to Govardhan.
It's a series of prayers, each with the same fourth line, which is a request that I want to live. Could I live near at the foot of Govardhan Hill? So that's a little treasure that you carry around with yourself, that gives you instruction in life, as well as it gives you an object of meditation that can be very satisfying and purifying to the mind, right? And it's worth it if you're into bhakti to find yourself these little treasures. Even though most of us aren't so able to become these great scholars that we're carrying all. We do know people that just carry tons of this stuff around, like someone like Dravida Prabhu, right?
It just flows out. I was just saying this to Mara today. I was like, we have to learn this one by heart. Yeah. So when you just go into a temple, you can let this thing flow. I'm going to give you one verse from this today. It's just too good. I know it's a squirrel, but it's a beautiful squirrel.
Okay.
I'll just take the first one. Nandanastakam. Oh, no. Let it flow, let it flow, let it flow.
Got it?
Sorry. She can't do it under pressure.
Mara's crumbling under pressure.
Here we got it.
Good,
Nandan Astakam. Oh no. Sucharu Vaktra Mandalam Sukarna Ratna Kundalam Sucharchi Tanga Chandanam Namami Nandanandanam Siddhirga Netra Pankajam Sikhi Sikanda Murdajam Ananga Koti Mohanang Namami Nandanandanam. His round face is so lovely, and his beautiful ears are adorned with hanging jeweled earrings, and his body is nicely anointed with fragrant sandalwood paste. I offer pranams to that Sri Nandanandana, whose eyes are elongated like lotuses. Peacock feathers adorn his head, and he enchants millions of cupids. I offer pranams to that Sri Nandanandana. Just goes on like this.
This is more than just beautiful poetry. This is the object of meditation, which completely transforms the mind and heart, right? This is where we need to bring our mind. Take it away from all the politics. Give that a rest for a bit, right?
You know what I call politics?
All the criticism. Give that a rest.
You know what I call politics or news of the world? I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on. It's genuine hate speech, because afterwards you feel hateful. You want to hate somebody. You want to find it. It's the opposite of what Prahlad Maharaj taught, which is the world. Get over this world of friends and enemies and look deeper into people.
Okay. Now, taking it back to Prahlad, here's the point that I was working towards, Raghu, is that we make a little stop in this chapter. Where did it say that it was? It said, Sukadeva Swami said, Major King, Lord Nrsingadev resides in the tract of land known as Harivarsha. Okay. Mm-hmm. So there, Prahlad is kind of like, he's the king of the place. He's the representative. And he's praying to Lord Nrsingadev, the Lord of his heart, right? To this manifestation of Lord Vishnu. And if you just take the verses shared from him, text 8 through, let's see, text 8 through 14. If someone just took these texts and learned them thoroughly, right? Learn them, read the commentaries on them, learn the explanations of what they mean. You've got that alone is enough for one's complete spiritual transformation.
I
mean,
love when
it's powerful
Kostuba
stuff.
speaks in like these prophecies.
That wasn't a
This
prophecy.
is all you need. These 8 verses alone is enough to liberate you. I love when you just order me like that. I take
not
it
ordering
seriously.
you.
No, I want to be ordered.
Okay, all right.
Order me about. I trust
Learn
you.
them. Learn
It's
them.
okay. I serve you. You instruct me. I will follow this.
I mean, I haven't learned them myself, but first we.
You got to be like Gandhi then. What is it like to be?
Yeah, there's the story about Gandhi, who some mother brought their son to him and said, please ask him to stop eating so many sweets. It's not good for him. He won't stop.
So bring him back in a week, right?
Bring him back in a week, yeah. And then they brought him back in a week, and Gandhi said, please stop eating so many sweets. It's not healthy. Listen to your mother. And then mother's like, thank you, but why did you say come back in a week? He said, because I had to stop myself first.
So you come back and give us this prophecy in a week.
Okay, I'll see what I can do. But here, first we heard there was a prayer to Lord Nrsimhadev, the powerful, protective Lord Nrsimhadev, not to kill others, kill the demon within me, right? Kill those lower qualities that are within me. And then we heard that beautiful prayer that we ended with yesterday. May there be good fortune throughout the universe. May all the hostile persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga. If we're practicing bhakti yoga, there's something within us that should be calmed, right? For by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. If we're not thinking of the welfare of others, we're not really practicing bhakti yoga. At least we're not practicing it well. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Shri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of him. Now, these next few verses, Raghunath, there's some really important stuff, but we need to, there needs to be some explanation for this. But why don't you read text 10?
All righty. My dear Lord, we pray that we may never feel attraction for the prison of family life.
Okay.
Consisting of home, spouse, children, friends, bank balance, relatives, and so on. What? This is the stuff we live for. This is a good thing, Kostuba. Explain this to me. Why is that a prison?
Okay. Do you want to finish the verse, or should we?
Yeah, I'm going to
to
finish the verse, and then I want you to dissect this.
We'll come back
because this sounds
a little scary,
incredibly harsh.
A little hard, a little cold.
Doesn't God just want us to have a good life and be good people? Why is it condemning good things? If we do have some attachment, let it be for the devotees, whose only dear friend is Lord Krishna. A person who is actually self-realized and who has controlled his mind is perfectly satisfied with the bare necessities of life. He does not try to gratify his senses. Such a person quickly advances in bhakti, whereas others who are too attached to material things find advancement very difficult. Kostuba, what are they talking about? Why would they say such a thing?
All right, let's take a look at this, and let's try to understand it. Let's try to understand what the real message of it is, what we're meant to take from it. My dear Lord, we pray that we may never feel attraction for the prison of family life. Now, when we hear this, when we hear that term family life,
yeah,
think of it like this. Don't think of it as like what's being criticized is your affection spreading through your family. What's being criticized is your affection being limited to one's own family, community, or nation. There's two things to this. One is that there are two misconceptions. What are you laughing about?
I'm laughing because, we're trying to it sounds very harsh, a criticism of family life. At the same time, for those who've had a family for a long time, family life's exhausting. If you're in your 50s right now, I remember when I was 6 out of 7 kids, and my parents really tried to harness all these kids in, and here are the rules on the house. And we'd walk into a department store all like in line, like the Von Trapp family. And everything was like organized, and it gets exhausting. Then one kid goes crazy, and one kid does this, and one kid does that. By the time they started parenting me and my little brother, it was like, you guys do whatever you want. You just do whatever you want. It's exhausting. It's
Okay.
exhausting. So sometimes you read this verse and you're like, yep, family life.
But I don't think that's really what's being.
I don't think so either.
Okay.
But I think there are parents out there who are just like, yeah.
Okay. But I think there are two ways that we need to understand this, two mistakes that we can make in terms of the affection that we feel for our family.
By the way, I want to do a switcheroo with you one day. One of those switch home TV shows where like, now you're in my shoes and you're in my shoes, where you get the kids.
And I want to do it with you. I'm going to interrupt you every time you're trying to make a point. How's that?
But that's what I love about you. You're like a bullet train. You could just keep going.
Okay. I've tried. Now here are the two ways, Raghunath, that I think that one could, the two problems, the two mistakes, the two misinterpretations, the two illusory approaches to family that are being pointed out here. One is that we think our happiness is dependent on our affection for our family. In other words, we see our family members as the source of our happiness.
Yes.
Right. That's one thing. What these yogic texts are saying is no. Your happiness is something that's natural, which arises from within when you practice yoga. When you look for your happiness through external sources, even family members, it brings tension. It's rooted in illusion and it brings tension, right? Because ultimately those interests start to compete in some way, and there's tension. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is this, and again, this is real important. Don't think of it as like what's being identified here as problematic, as being your affection spreading throughout the extent of your family. What attention is being drawn to is the limited thinking, the materialistic limited thinking that my love or my affection extends only to my family. So when we hear family life, or affection towards family, love for family, and it's being criticized, what's being criticized is the idea that my affection is limited to my own family, my own community, or nation. That's, it, because when the true happiness or the true love arises in us from within, then it will know the kind of we will care for one another just like we care, like everyone is a member of our family, right? We'll have that same type of inner affection for every living being. That's what Prahlad is trying to bring us to in saying this.
And we speak of this, and the Bhagavatam speaks of this a lot. It's this bigger love, separate than my people, separate than my clique, separate than my tribe, separate than my family. It's a bigger love, and it's hard to understand because all we know is a clingy love. I find on my own practice of bhakti, it's a refinement again and again of what I thought love was. When you're a teenager, oftentimes when you're a teenager, hopefully you grow out of that. Infatuation is love. And I love her so much. Oh, I love her. And then as you get a little older, you realize, there's some older stages of love in a marriage. First, there's infatuation. Then there's, you got to graduate to love. Bhagavatam talks about the highest concept of love. And it's understanding that there's no one in this world, even the ones that are coming from our own body, that we ever possess, and they're not ours. As a matter of fact, we actually own nothing in this world except the ability to love. Okay. And this is where the whole Bhagavatam sort of ushers us towards.
Right. So and what it's ushering us here towards too is like saying, if we do have some attachment, right, to the extent that we're clinging and so on, where do you cling? Let it be for the devotees, whose only dear friend is Krishna, right? Mm-hmm. A person who is actually self-realized and has controlled their mind is perfectly satisfied with the bare necessities of life, right? They're not out searching for, it says, to gratify the senses. They're not even within the family life, right? Whether it be sexually or whether it even be emotionally, right? Such a person quickly advances in this Krishna consciousness. Okay, so text 11.
Text 11. By associating with persons for whom the personality of Godhead Mukunda is the all in all.
All in all.
Right? One can hear of his powerful activities and soon come to understand them. The activities of Mukunda are so potent that simply by hearing of them, one immediately associates with the Lord. Boom. That's a powerful statement.
Mhm.
The activities of Mukunda are so potent that simply by hearing of them, one immediately associates with the Lord.
Mukunda is the name for Krishna.
You're immediately, it's like, how do you understand God? How do you be with God? You just hear about his activities. That's why this book that we're studying is so important. It's all the activities of the avatars of Vishnu and Krishna's entire Leela from appearance to disappearance. On the other hand, no. I'm going to back that up. These activities for a person who constantly and very eagerly hears narrations of the Lord's powerful activities, the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, in the form of sound vibrations, enter within his heart and cleanses it of all contamination. Here we are, Kastuba. We're living in a world where everyone's got. This is hard to believe, and my kids can't understand it, but there was a time before people had cell phones. And there was a time when people could just walk down the road. But now everyone's got earbuds. It seems like everybody's got multiple personality disorder because they're just like talking using hand gestures, but they actually have earbuds in. They're on the phone with somebody.
Especially when you're in this, when we were growing up, when it wasn't uncommon someone walking down the street talking to themselves.
Yeah. They're either
but now it's like,
or
you
have
don't
some
know.
mental disorder and they're
Yeah.
talking to themselves. But now everyone's just talking to themselves,
Yeah.
but they're actually talking on their phone. So there is sound vibration 24/7 practically going on in people's heads. And the question is that sound vibration entangling us? Does it make us happy or sad? Does it make us laugh? Does it just clog my mind? Does it make us angry or bitter or hate speech, like I was saying? And oftentimes, whatever the sound vibration is, we find other things that are part of that loop and bring it into the loop, making it a bigger loop. Or is it liberating sound? That's a rare thing. And I have to lose a taste for my lower sound vibration or get that taste, which it says here.
Yes. For a person who constantly and very eagerly hears narrations of the Lord's powerful activities, the absolute truth, the personality of God, in the form of sound vibration, enters within his heart and cleanses it of all contamination.
Cleanses the heart of all contaminations. Very exciting. It's very exciting stuff. Eagerly hears. That's another big thing. We got to do things with, we're eager sometimes for real dumb things. Oh yeah, we're going to do this. It's going to be great.
Like one of those truck things, one of those when they're driving
monster
big trucks.
Yes.
Yes. Right.
January 24th, Madison Square Garden. Monster trucks. Whatever, we get really we hype up that which is like big deal. We're living in a hyped up world where we hype up the dumbest things. New York, when we were little, I don't know what it was. What did they hype up?
Well, you're talking about it, but let's finish this first.
Okay. My point is, be eager for the things that are worthy of being eager for. That's when you hype that up. Hype up the stuff that is actually will liberate you.
That's what Prahlad's doing.
Okay.
And he's going to glorify it so much that even hear what he has to say next. On the other hand,
to read on? You know what 11. I do? I fidget. I'm a fidgeter, and I fidget with my mouse, and I fidget the text right away.
Okay.
By associating with persons for whom the Supreme Personality of Godhead Mukunda is the all in all. We just read this.
Yeah. On the other hand.
Okay. On the other hand, although bathing in the Ganges diminishes bodily contaminations and infections.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Also infections.
Because of
This
those herbs you're
process-
talking about, right?
What's that?
Those herbs.
The herbs. It draws medicinal herbs from the Himalayan peaks. On the other hand, although bathing in the Ganges diminishes bodily contaminations and infections, this process and the process of visiting holy places can cleanse the heart only after a long time.
Okay.
So you might go to the Ganga and feel something, feel some relief. But what's the real healing herb? Therefore, who is the sane man who will not associate with the devotee to quickly perfect his life?
Mm.
Very quickly. And I think it's safe to say
Mara, you can vouch for me, and Kostuba, of course, knows that when you get around a saintly person, your consciousness, you just feel like, oh, first of all, you start to realize, where's my consciousness at? Second of all, you start to like, that's where I want my consciousness to go.
You got
And
start getting
walk
excited
away.
about the right stuff.
You're tingling.
Now, Raghunath, so now Prahlad has glorified the devotees of Lord Krishna, the devotees of Lord Vishnu. He said that simply by associating with them, what comes out of them and enters into our ears, it purifies our consciousness. It reprograms our mind. It rids it of all of that junk, and it nurtures all of that healthy thinking, right?
Mhm.
And so now this next verse is a very famous, often quoted verse, and I think it really requires some discussion on our part. It's a very interesting
This
verse.
verse sometimes blows people away, and some people are like, yeah. So let's take this
Okay.
apart.
Text 12.
Just 12, sorry. All the demigods and their exalted qualities, such as religion, knowledge, and renunciation, become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Let me read that again. All the demigods and their exalted qualities, such as Dharma, Jnana, religion.
Dharma,
I'm trying to be
Jnana,
the
and
pundit here.
Vairagya.
Vairagya. Dharma, Jnana, Vairagya. They become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. That's the real what? Even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor for maintaining a family and relatives, right? That's totally dharmic, like Mr. Good neighbor. He must be driven by his own mental speculations and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy, Maya. How can there be any good qualities in such a person?
Okay.
So that's a very good thing. You say, hey, come on, Kostuba. He's perfect at mystic yoga. Or not just perfect at mystic yoga. He's just like a very stellar, outstanding being. Why is that so bad? What does that mean? He has no good qualities. What kind of book are you peddling?
Well, so this is so important. You know, I was in a class by a friend of mine, actually, you know, and someone who I appreciate hearing from, and they were really driving home this verse and really arguing the point that anyone that is not a Krishna Bhakta has no good qualities. I mean, it says it right here, right? And then and after I heard him talk, I wrote a letter to him where I really began to examine this idea, you know, from many different angles. You know, Prabhupada says that we should study Bhagavatam and examine the verses from many different angles, right? And so I think we have to be really careful with really trying to understand what's being said here. You know,
It can really sound fanatical, can it?
it certainly can. It can be
this
applied.
verse can sound super culty
in fanatical ways.
Yeah.
And so what is, you know, there's certain terms here. It says that they must be driven by their own mental speculation. When it says that, let's call that mental programming. Okay.
Okay.
And let's look at this verse in relationship to what we were just hearing about our affection being limited to a narrow group of people. You know, Sri Prahlad, he's going to become, we've hardly touched him so far in the Bhagavatam. In the 7th canto, he's going to become this very important figure. And when you're done with the whole Bhagavatam, he stands out, right? Sri Chaitanya, who's like the ultimate Maha Bhagavat, you know, devotee, he would just want to hear the descriptions of and the prayers of Prahlad over and over again. They would read and hit them the whole thing, and he would say, read it again. And they read it again, he'd say, read it again, right? Prahlad's prayers are so deep and so important. But what we find when we read those 7 or so chapters from the 7th canto where Prahlad is speaking, if we want to boil down to essentially what comes across in Prahlad's teachings, is that his bhakti, his devotion, what's the word I'm looking for? Due to this devotion that he held within his heart, within his mind, it was impossible for him to see another living being with any sense of hostility. He had no enemies. And so much so that he couldn't even understand how people could quite think that way. Like, I don't get it. How don't you understand? We're all made of God's energy. How could you have any hostility towards another living being? I get it that their minds can become programmed and they may behave in certain ways, but still, how could I have hostility towards anyone? He's like, I don't understand this, right? So now he's talking about who has good qualities and who has bad qualities. But try to understand, this is a person with this universal vision, right? With Bhagavatam's trying to bring us to this kind of universal platform of awareness, you know, and that is, it's trying to, you see, when it says that they have no good qualities, it's talking about good qualities in the absolute sense. It's talking about good qualities that are not relative, they're absolute. In other words, let's take a good quality. Let's take compassion, right? So let's say let's say we see a person and they're very compassionate towards the members of their own family.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
Okay, but let's say they're entirely that compassion is lacking when it comes to people outside their family. They're very compassionate to the people in their own community, but that compassion is lacking when applied to people of other communities. They're very compassionate towards the people of their own nation, charitable and trying to help but they have no interest in the suffering of people from other nations. Could it be said that they are truly compassionate? Right? No. It's like, so in other words, their compassion is resting on something that is unstable, which is the mental programming. Like, let's say my mental programming is like, I love my family, I love my daughter, I love my son, I love my wife, and based on that, I have feelings of quote unquote compassion. From the higher perspective, it's like, you don't understand what compassion is yet, because if you really understood it, you would feel that for everyone. So when it says here that, so it's saying, even if he's adept at the practice of mystic yoga, or in the honest endeavor of maintaining their family and relatives. When it says the honest endeavor of maintaining their family and relatives, it's saying that those Vedic teachings of Dharma, right, of taking up your social responsibilities, even if you got that, they must be driven by their own mental programming, right? And
chime in someone here.
Yeah, just let me, and they must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. It means the external energy is always shifting, changing, moving, disappearing. So their compassion is just going to change, shift, move, and disappear. It's almost like, on one hand, it's very admirable to whatever extent it's there, and on the other hand, it's almost like an illusory semblance of compassion. It's from the higher perspective, that compassion is almost like artificial and just poof, it just disappears. Please, Rudolph.
Yeah, I love this. It's when it's very easy to be kind, to be inclusive, to be loving, to be supportive, to be charitable, to people that are like you, that think like you,
Yeah,
and that like you. It's very difficult to be kind, charitable, loving, supportive, inclusive to people that are not like you and that don't like you. And so we find that it is still based in a world of friends and enemies. So that compassion is limited to my tribe, however big it could be, like your 3 people in your family, or even bigger and wider and wider, but still it's breaking apart and creating, there's walls between it. Whereas the higher love of bhakti is talking about going to the roots of love and learning an ultimate love for everybody out there. That, and I think this goes back to this idea in the Gita, while the wise are my verse is what's the for the living nor the dead. The wise don't lament for the living nor the dead.
Okay.
It's not being we're cruel to those who are dying, and we're not callous to those who are dying, but we are understanding like this lifetime, the joys and the pains of life, they're all temporary. The people that appear to be against us, they're controlled like puppets by their own desires. It's not even practically speaking, it's not even them doing the thinking anymore.
Right.
Sometimes people say, yeah, I got so much choice. I'm going to choose to do this. How much choice does a cocaine addict have? How much free will are they using to take cocaine? They're using no free will. It's all acting on total impulse. And when you start to realize how little control we have of the material world, we realize people are almost driven by force and they have very little free will. And what we want to do in a bhakti culture is see something underneath their addictive behavior, see someone underneath their personal beliefs of how to be happy. That's all it is. There's gang members who go out and kill people because they just want to be loved. And that's the only tamasic way they know how to do it. And so we're saying you got to go underneath their habits, underneath their behaviors, underneath their politics, underneath their everything, and try to find that higher love. And then all of a sudden, it's different than the so-called ethics of the material world.
Right.
What do you think? You think I was on base with that?
I think you hit it. And like you said, the higher love, like we often talk about capital L love and lowercase L love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here we have, like, you could say capital G good and lowercase g good.
Yes, I like that. Let's use that more now too. Let's bring that into our vernacular.
And so what is the capital? The capital G good are the good qualities that are that exist as our nature and that are unveiled, that arise when that true nature arises through Krishna consciousness, when we understand who I am. And the good qualities that we have that are disconnected to that are in relation to our mental conceptions, that's a lowercase g. Now, Prabhupada kind of, in the commentary, he's going to kind of get to this. He says, when he's talking about good qualities, he says, these are all originally qualities of Krishna. We're part and parcel of Krishna, right? He starts by saying all living entities are part and parcel of Krishna. And therefore, when they revive their original Krishna consciousness, they possess all good qualities of Krishna in small quantity, right? It's because we're made of the energy of Krishna that we have good qualities. When those arise from within, that's the capital G. And he says, these are all originally qualities of Krishna. And when one becomes a devotee, they automatically become manifest, right? This is what we're trying to reach to, not the artificial semblance of good qualities. But this is a point I want to really get at, Raghunath, is that even that when we read these verses, we have to be real careful that we don't take them like religious fanatics.
Yeah, it's important.
So here's what it's, because even that semblance of good qualities, we appreciate, we try to fan the spark, and feel genuine appreciation for. So I would say that you could apply this verse with three different perspectives. Two of them are going to be healthy for us, and one of them is going to be unhealthy. I'd say the two healthy ways is this verse is going to help us recognize who I should associate with closely. The previous verse was saying, you associate with devotees and it's like more purified than bathing in the Ganges River. So it'll help me recognize who that is, and it'll help me recognize the degree to which my own nature needs to reawaken. But how it will not be helpfully applied is making us more callous towards people who are non-devotees, or rejecting any good that we see in them, even though the verse it seems like it's saying that they don't have any good qualities. But we have to view this verse from many different perspectives, because here's a perspective, Raghunath. Ready?
Maybe.
If we go back to the 4th canto, 4th chapter, 12th verse, very interesting person is speaking, right?
Who?
Sati.
Okay.
Sati, the daughter of Lord Shiva, is speaking to her father, who represents, Bhagavatam is trying to say, you know what, maybe you've been studying the Vedas and doing all the rituals and being very pious and religious. You got to take it further.
There's more.
Because that thinking is limited, You got to expand. You got to come to the real, deeper spiritual platform. So when Sati is speaking to her father Daksha, Daksha represents all of that, right? All of that religiousness. But he doesn't have the depth of spirituality. So he criticizes Lord Shiva of all people based on externals. And so she's saying that she's speaking power, speaking truth to power. And this is what she says to her father. She says, "Oh, twice born Daksha, a man like you can simply find fault in the qualities of others. Lord Shiva, however, the person that you're criticizing, not only finds no faults with others' qualities, but if someone has a little good quality, he magnifies it greatly. Unfortunately, you have found fault with such a great soul." So she's saying that even people that are non-devotees, even people that are full of bad qualities, the way that a Vaishnava, we say Vaishnavadam Yata Shambhu, that Lord Shiva Shambhu is the greatest of all Vaishnavas. The natural tendency of the Vaishnava is not to be like the natural tendency of the beginner person brand new to bhakti may be, I feel better about myself when I'm criticizing the faults of others. I can't see any good in others. But for the mature Vaishnava, right, for the person that's actually getting some spiritual traction and transformation, they're seeing good even when there's just a tiny bit of it, and they're magnifying it. And then Prabhupada, he expands on this in the commentary. He says, there are some highly qualified persons who accept only the good qualities of others. Just as a bee is always interested in the honey in the flower and does not consider the thorns and colors, highly qualified persons who are uncommon accept only the good qualities of others, not considering their bad qualities. Whereas the common man can judge what are good qualities and what are bad qualities. Among the uncommonly good souls, there are still gradations, and the best good soul is one who accepts an insignificant asset of a person and magnifies that good quality. Boom.
Boom, like that.
Yeah. So that's, this verse, let us examine it from so many different perspectives, and let it help us understand that what's really being said here is not that we're walking around just looking down our noses at everybody, right? But we're trying to understand that even within ourselves, there may be some kind of quote unquote good quality, but the real good is that which is not relative but absolute, when it is not limited to according to our mental programming, limited to this family, this community, this nation, but when it expands, that's when it's true compassion, true kindness, true humility, true whatever it may be, whatever that good quality may be, in its true form, it's universal.
One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Not just
Thank you,
one nation,
Stephen. That was
all
good.
the
That was a
nations.
beautiful way to wrap it up.
Great verse. Important
Finding
verse.
spots on the bright moon. Critical thinking, or not critical thinking, criticizing. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, Mara, give us some goodies. Give us some nuggets turning into takeaways, turning into goodies. Yeah.
What you got, Mary?
What you got, Miss Mara?
I got good stuff today. Beware the merry-go-round of criticism.
The merry-go-round. I thought I said the Ferris wheel.
You said merry-go-round.
Either way, it goes around and round.
Yeah. Don't mind other people's business. Mind your own.
It goes on and on and on again. Did you like Rush?
That wasn't Rush, Raghunath. That was Journey.
Oh.
And my limited thinking has me not too affectionate toward either band.
Yeah, you got to open up, because you need a big
Okay.
L love for Rush.
Okay.
The object of our meditation can transform our hearts.
That's right.
Yeah.
Nandanandana.
Family is not the source of our happiness.
That's not. Yeah, they're not the real happiness.
Rocco got 5 goals yesterday. Just putting it out there.
But really, 5 goals?
Yeah, 5 goals.
In like a real game?
In a real game, he was on yesterday.
That's insane.
The ability to love is our only possession.
Do you love him only because he scored those goals? Ragnar, tell the truth.
Yeah, I told him, make goals, get love. No goals, withhold love.
Ragnar.
Do you think that's healthy for child psychology?
I don't think that's healthy. I don't know what Rudolph Steiner would have to say about that.
Is our sound vibration entangling or liberating?
Yeah, good question. We
What's
got to
your
turn that
sound
mic.
vibration today, Mr. Kostuba?
I don't know. We got to turn the mic so I can get a little more of Mara's sound vibration. There we go.
Don't limit your compassion to just your tribe.
Take
Yeah.
me to the limit one more time.
Unveil and arise the capital G good qualities.
Oh, there you go. Capital G.
And sniff the good.
A sniff the good. Sniff it out. Sniff the good stuff.
Good. Is there any songs with the word sniff in it? I don't think so. I think there's no songs that have the word sniff in it.
Now I want to sniff some glue. Ramones.
The Ramones. Check this one out. Tunas Karena Venu Ranjitam Gati Karinja Ganjitam Dukula Pita Shobanam Namami Nandanandanam Pribanga Deha Sundaram Nakyajuti Sudakaram Amuya Ratna Bhushanam Namami Nandanandanam. Put that write that name of this song on the board. That way people can Google it up and read this today. Thanks everybody for joining us. You want to join us live on Zoom? You can do it. Wisdom of the Sages 108@gmail.com. You write Miss Mara. You've heard of Mara from Shravanam Scarves by Mara.
Oh, yeah. I know her. I've seen those scarves everywhere.
Everyone's got them now. Everyone's talking about them.
We got to get
You
one
should bring some to
celebrity wearing the
Rath Yatra.
Shravanam.
We're gonna bring some to Rath Yatra.
Okay.
And we're gonna have. And by the way, we want to see everyone there June 10th at Rath Yatra in Washington Square Park, because we're gonna hang with you and we're gonna sit down. We're gonna have kirtans sitting on the ground, singing. We're gonna have Wisdom of the Sages table. You can say hi to Kostuba and myself. I'll sing you songs. I'll sing you whatever songs you want. I'll sing you bhajans, stotrams, stutis, and even 70s commercials. I'll sing whatever you want to hear.
A little Rush, a little Journey, a little Eagles.
Nandananastikam. His hands are adorned with flute. His majestic gait. Right, that's a very beautiful part of a person, the way they walk. Sometimes people don't walk very beautifully. It's not attractive. But Krishna's majestic gait excels that of the elephants. Elephants, ever see an elephant walk?
Yeah, it's got a very regal gait.
Very regal gait. And he is beautified by fine yellow garments. Now imagine if I was to wear all yellow garments.
I've seen you do that.
It'd be ridiculous. But if Krishna wears them, it's quite attractive.
If you do it, everybody's like, oh, Big Bird over here.
Yeah, they'll call me Big Bird. Exactly. Okay, wait. There's more. Okay. His threefold bending form. That's when he crosses his skin over his shin. And he is the most beautiful. And you know why it's most beautiful? What I think why Krishna is beautiful in the threefold bending form is because he's not standing there regal, ready for warfare. He's not like prim and proper. He's just hanging out. Krishna just
That is relaxed
the Lord of just
mode.
hanging out. You know, ever see a person with their baseball cap on straight or their hat on very straight, and then you see some like homeboy guy who's got their hat on sideways? Krishna wears his.
Krishna's crooked.
He's crooked. His crown is crooked. He's sort of just hanging out with his hat's on sideways.
His crown is crooked. His body's crooked.
His eyebrows.
Sometimes
are
he
crooked.
lies. He's crooked.
He's crooked. He's adorned with priceless gems. Can you imagine the types of jewels he wears?
Priceless ones, right there.
Priceless gems. You can't put a price on them. He is Vrindavan's expert lover, who dresses in a manner to enhance his charming, playful pastimes.
So beautiful.
He liberates Indra from his pride. Right? Doesn't pride ruin a person?
Yeah.
Takes away all their good qualities. Krishna will come and just
Ragnar,
liberate you.
it's very interesting that you said that, because the verse that we read, text 12, about no good qualities and all that, the explanation that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives is that if these are on the relative plane, then they're accompanied with the bad qualities of pride.
Yeah, so
Right?
they're not truly good qualities in that sense.
I like that. I like that. The exquisite lover of the damsels of Brudge always bestows happiness upon all living entities and enchants our mind. Doesn't Krishna enchant our minds?
Very enchanting.
I'm enchanted right now. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's been a beautiful day. Looking forward to seeing everybody at Rath Yatra. I hope I see some California people there when I come out to the temple.
And don't